Welcome to the Morale Booster Network, a platform for entrepreneurs, career professionals, leaders, and the general public to give back to the society through coaching and mentoring. I remain your host, Dr. John Ugulu. I am an author, speaker, and strategist. I always say experience is the best teacher. You can stream or download this podcast from YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Music, Google Podcast, Player FM, and Pandora. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Hello, and welcome to the Morale Booster Podcast. I am your host, Dr. John Ugulu. In this season, From Idea to Impact, with our theme being navigating the journey of an author, we will dive deep into the creative process, the challenges, and the triumphs that come with bringing a book to life. And in this episode, we are thrilled to welcome our guest author, LaQuita Parks. She is the founder and CEO of Pro V Publishing and a failure to Communicate LLC. So let's embark on this inspiring journey together. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a woman who is based in Atlanta, Georgia. She is the founder of a publishing company. She is also a relationship communication coach. She's a writing coach and mentor with a passion for people and their well-being. She is also the host of her own podcast show. It's called My Heart on Pages, and also the host of The Power of Your Story radio show. LaQuita is also the founder and facilitator of Exhale, a social communication group for women who meet to discuss different issues ranging from personal to political. So Exhale is a social platform that she has. For those of you who are looking for a platform where you can communicate, network, that's one you can look into. And she has a publication, her most recent book, which is titled The Ability to Outrun My Walking Limitation. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, please join me as I welcome LaQuita Parks. Thank you, LaQuita, for joining us on this program.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. I know. Right now, it's 1:10 p.m. here. It's typically not easy to take time out of one's schedule, to get on a podcast at this time of the day. But for somebody like you who believes in empowering people, we appreciate you for coming out. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right. So now our theme is we're looking at the journey of your journey as an author. Could you please share with us what inspired you to start writing? And was there any particular moment or experience that set you on the path of writing books?
Absolutely. First of all, I wrote my first book in 2016, and there was no in the beginning there was no okay, I want to be an author. There was no desire. There was no when I was growing up, I wanted to be a writer. That's all I ever wanted to do. That was not my story. But I have a mentoring program, and I mentor young people, and it was always important to me, and it still is important for me to practice what I preach. So a part of that was journaling and writing, and how powerful it can be to write your feelings and expressions. And so I wrote my first book, which is Walking Limitations, month, just so that I could show the young people that if I can do it, you can do it. So that was why I really wrote my first book. When I was in college, I went back to college as an adult after I got married and had children. And I found that I really did enjoy writing, writing creatively. So writing the book was just to say, hey, look, I kept my word. If I can do it, you can do it. So that's how writing first started for me. And then I had an experience where I had to go to the Mayo Clinic 4 times at the Mayo Clinic because I'm the victim of medical childhood trauma. While at the Mayo Clinic, I had people calling me, asking me, how did you write your book? Can you show me how to write your book? And in my head, I was saying, I'm at the Mayo Clinic. You guys should be asking me how I'm doing. But instead of doing that, I kept my head thoughts in my head and I started helping people write their stories. And so, in the midst of that, it was therapeutic for me. So, as I continued on that journey and helping other people take their stories from a thought to a realization with the publishing company PayProV, I just started entwining that into my own story. So, and PayProV is pain, progress, victory, because I believe without pain, there is no progress. And without progress, there can be no victory. So, after helping several people, I had people when you're gonna do another part to walking limitations? When are you gonna tell the rest of the story? So I decided to bring out the ability to outrun my walking limitations. And it was derived from different aspects of my life. It's all true. All of the stories and the ability to outrun your walking limitations is all true. And it's a matter of encouraging people that no matter what you're going through, no matter where you are in your life, wherever you are financially, physically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, you can get through it. So you just have to understand that you can outrun your walking limitations.
Wow, I love that. It's a very, very, very fascinating story and journey that you have right there. And what actually caught my attention more was you said without pain there is no progress, and without progress there is no victory. And I
Yes.
completely agree with you on that. Your journey is fascinating. Your journey would inspire someone out there who never till date imagined that he or she could write a book, and they would know at this point that there is always something that can activate that part of us. So thank you so much for sharing. So can you share some of your biggest challenges, some of the biggest challenges you faced in your writing journey, and how you were able to overcome them? Maybe
Um,
like two, three.
yeah, I think I'm muted. Oh,
Oh, okay. Yes,
okay.
I can hear you though.
One of the things that was a challenge was overthinking. And I teach my clients all the time, don't overthink. Do not overthink. So, one of the things that I had to learn to do was not overthink. And also, I had to learn that my story was important, that whatever I was going through was important, that people would care about my story because my story wasn't about me. My story was about other people. So, we can't be hoarders of our story. So, after I learned not to overthink, I started going through my story and understanding that I appreciate my story. And so when I coach people, I just kind of put what I do for other people back on me. I do. Um, I go through and I ask myself, why am I writing this story? Why would I care? Who would care about my story? And can you still hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. But
Okay.
for those of us for those who are um, watching on the video platforms, they can no longer see you. But yes, we can hear you loud and clear. Yes, please go on.
Okay. Um, so what I did was I started to talk to myself and say, okay, why would people care about my story? And people would care about my story because my story has the power to heal other people, just like it did me. Writing my story, writing has two. I call it it's a double sword. One being it's gonna heal me from the inside out. The other is somebody's waiting on the other end of my story so that they can get healing from their story. So once I started doing that, I started looking at different aspects of my life that were important and how those different aspects of my life were going to help people to be their best person. So that's kind of those were the challenges that I had to overcome before knowing that, you know what, my story really can heal somebody.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Our stories are powerful. Your story is powerful. And there is definitely somebody out there who is currently at the beginning stage, who is at the beginning stage, who is about to start going through what you have already gone through in life. So your story will definitely help them transition from where they are to where they want to be. And thank you for accepting that calling, because some people do receive the signal to write a book or share their stories, and for some reasons they just don't follow through. So for the fact that you were able to step up and act on it, we appreciate you for that. Thank you so much. Now, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who are listening to us right now, please like and share this broadcast. And the reason why we typically ask you to like and share it is because you might just be saving the life of that one person who has been waiting for a lifetime to hear this message. Messages are powerful. So we still have with us on the on the podcast LaQuita. She is the founder of PayProV Publishing. So now I've got another question for you, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Now, how has your writing process evolved over time? And what have you learned about yourself as a writer along the way?
Well, it really has evolved. Since I wrote my first book in 2016. I have written an abundance of things. I write for a magazine, two magazines actually, but I've been writing for an international magazine for 4 years now, and I must say, I get tickled at myself because sometimes I'll write and there's always a theme, and sometimes I'll write and I'll say, "Oh wow, that was good." Um, because it tests me and it stretches me. So it's evolved a lot because I know that I'm writing to people who are searching for something. There are people waiting for our stories because a lot of people have they're going through, especially since the pandemic, they're going through a lot and they're looking for that something that will, that they can connect to, that can help pull them through and move the needles on their life. So as I've gone through it, I've evolved because I love human interest subjects. I like storytelling. I like helping people. So I'm a storyteller. So I'm what I call a descriptive writer. So when I tell my story, I want you to take that journey with me. So in my writing, I try to make it so that people are right there with me. As and you know this, as readers, we're lazy. So we don't want to have to try and figure out what you're trying to say, but we want to take that journey with you, and most people do. And I write so that people can walk the path with me. So when I write about going through the Mayo Clinic, 4 months at the Mayo Clinic, and all of what that went through, what that meant. The person who's reading, my audience, they're right there with me. They can feel the emotions. They can feel my highs. They can feel my lows. And then at the end of the day, they can connect it with their story and say, wow, this was my story. And she got through this. They may not be where I am now. They may be at the beginning. They may be in the middle. Some may be on the edge of going, getting through it. But the stories connect them and it helps them get to the other side of through. Some I heard somebody say, hey, if you're going through hell, don't stop because on the other side is through. They just don't know that it's my story or your story that they're waiting for. They just know that they need that something. And when they pick up my story, they'll say, oh, wow. This is exactly what I needed. And I know that it's changing lives because of the feedback that I've received. So that's how I've evolved. It means more than just some people write a book to say, hey, I wrote a book. I'm an author. I wrote a book. It's a bestseller and I want to make money. That's all those things are good. There's nothing wrong with that. But that's not my story. My story is truly to help other people to get through the other side of through in their story. So I'm all about moving the needle.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. And yes, you hit the nail. And I was going to ask you, what role do you think community or feedback from readers and other writers has played in your development as an author?
It plays a very important role. When you write your story, you want people to read it. However, you want to make sure that you are directing it to the right audience. So some people will write a book and they don't know who their audience is, and so when it's not successful or it doesn't do what they want it to do, they don't realize that okay, this is people. It's not directed to the right people. So feedback is important for two major reasons. Number one, it's an encouragement. When I get people who say, "Hey, I've read your story," and they give me that encouragement. They say, "Hey, I'm proud of you. I thank God for you, or I prayed for you." That's an encouragement to me, and then it also helps me to get better when you get feedback. All feedback isn't good feedback and all feedback isn't bad feedback, but it's feedback. And my grandmother used to say, eat the meat, spit out the bones. So I tell my children, take in what you need, disregard the rest. So when I receive feedback, of course you always want that good feedback because we're feel good kind of people. But when you get feedback that's not so complimentary, then make it, use it to build character and find out, okay, how can I make this better? Our stories are our stories. My story is my story. It's the truth of what actually happened to me in my life. So I don't know how to get much better with telling that story. The only thing is making sure that the audience is the right audience and receive the feedback. Consider the source, receive the feedback, and allow it to grow you. Sometimes we don't allow things to grow us. We put a block up, we get upset about it, and then we go a different direction where even the feedback was intended for us to go. But to answer your question, it's very important to have that feedback and the community. Your community is the people around you. I'm in Atlanta, so my community might not be the whole city of Atlanta. My community will be my family and those people who I'm connected directly to, and they take my message out, and that becomes my entire community.
Thank you so much for sharing. Yes, you have just reaffirmed that feedback from readers and other writers has played a major role in your development as an author. So I truly appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, we are still on the Morale Booster podcast. We're still here with LaQuita Parks. Please like and share this broadcast. because you might just be saving the life of that one person who has been waiting for a lifetime to hear this message. We thank God this podcast is global, so we know people are definitely watching, listening to us from all continents of the world. So, and that being said, looking back at your journey, what advice would you give to aspiring writers who are just starting out?
The first thing, and thank you so much for asking that question. The first thing that I would say is don't overthink. Number one, do not overthink. The second thing is don't allow anybody to tell you that your story is not important. There are people, I have people, clients that have come to me and they've been working on their story for 5 years, 10 years, and they're discouraged because they show it to the people and, maybe family or friends, and they say, "Oh, why you want to do that? If I were you, I wouldn't tell my business." Well, my response to that is, it's your story. Tell your story. One quick example, I'm working on a project called Our Journey from Girls to Women. And one of the ladies that's in this project, it's an anthology project. She is my cousin, but we didn't really grow up together. Her uncle grew up with my mom. My grandmother raised him. And so I have a good relationship with him. And when I met her, she said, I want to write my story, but I know that you and my dad are close, and I don't want to do anything or say anything that's going to offend you. And so I told her, I said, your story is your story. Don't worry about me. Don't worry about anybody. Write your story, because your story has power. It has the power to heal you and to heal your audience. So write your story. And she said she got off the phone and she wrote her story in that day, that same day. And when she sent her story to me, it brought me to tears, because her story is absolutely amazing. Talk about being an overcomer. So if she had continued to listen to people saying, well, you shouldn't do this, or be concerned about how other people were going to feel, she would never have written her story. And I have to say this, there are going to be people who don't want you to share your story. Those people might be the villain in your story. You might be the villain in somebody else's story. It doesn't matter. Share your story, write your story. See, there are more than 1 billion, 8 billion people on the planet. And out of those 8 billion people, 1% of those people will take the time to take pen to pencil or type it out, their story. That's 1% of 8 billion people. Now, imagine they'll just write the story and that's it. But only a half of a percent of that 1% will complete the thought and take the time to publish that story. And that's a huge number, but it's a tiny number in a fishbowl. Can you imagine being one of the 1% of 8 billion people to share your story? The world is waiting. We have to create the narrative. And you don't want to leave this earth with somebody else telling your story. So it's important that you don't overthink, you don't allow people to deter you or discourage you from telling your story. And it's okay if you're the villain. You may have been the villain in somebody's story 20 years ago. You could also be the hero in somebody's story. That doesn't matter. Your story is still important. Your story has the power to heal, and it has the power to change lives. So those are those would be my encouragements. That would be my advice to upcoming authors. The biggest thing, if you can't remember anything, don't overthink. Just write your story. Nike says just do it. LaQuita says just do it. Just write it. Just write it. Just start. Just start.
Thank you so much, Laquita, for those powerful words of encouragement. If you are still listening to us, she just said that the world is waiting to hear your story. I don't know who that person is, I don't know who's listening to me right now. I don't know where you're listening to me from, but this message is directly for you. She said the world is waiting to hear your story. She also said that your story has the power to heal. I want you to think about it. And she also went further to say, do not overthink, just write it. Yes, those are powerful words of motivation. Thank you so much, Laquita, for sharing these words of encouragement to authors out there or aspiring authors out there. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to get in contact with Laquita Parks, you can follow her on Instagram. Her Instagram handle is PayProV Publishing. PayProV Publishing. It's P again, ROVI Publishing. PayProV Publishing. And do you have a website where people can contact you, Laquita?
Absolutely. And it's www.payprovipublishing.com, PAPROVI publishing.com.
Okay, I will be putting that in the comment section. Visit her website. Um, Visit her website, payprovpublishing.com. Ladies and gentlemen, we understand that everything that has a beginning or a starting also has an end. You can also follow her on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. So if you type her name, Laquita Parks, you will find her on these social media platforms that I just mentioned. So, how can people access your community, your online community?
They can go. I am on, just like you said, all things social media. I am on LinkedIn.
Okay,
I am
okay,
also on. I'm on LinkedIn. I am on Facebook. I am on Twitter. I am on Instagram. I am on TikTok. My website again is papervpublishing.com. And if all else fails, you can simply Google me. My life is an open
awesome.
book,
That's
and
it.
I am findable.
I like that. I like that. Google her.
Google me.
Google her. Google is your best friend. Yes, thank you so
Yes.
much for sharing that with us. So, what about your book? Where can people find your books? How many books have you published in total, including
For
including including anthologies?
including anthologies, I started Paper V Publishing 4 years ago in 2020, and since that, in August 2020, just celebrated 4 years, and since that time, I have published. I am at 110 books
Wow,
since that
wow.
time, and I am working on anthology number 15.
Mm,
I have 3 anthologies of my own that are coming out, and
mm,
I have some anthology projects that I'm working on for other people. So I've published for people all over the world. I'm excited about that, and that's my thing, helping people take their stories from a thought to a realization. So I'm super, super excited, and I'm very humbled by that. I don't take that lightly. I know with everything that I've gone through, as I said before, the victim of medical childhood trauma. I don't
mm.
know a day without pain in 50 years. So I'm very, very serious about helping people tell their stories, because if I can do it in with dealing with chronic pain and all the things that I go through, you can too. You can. I promise you can. And for me, it's just being obedient and walking in the direction that God would have me go in. So as long as I'm edifying him and I am walking in the light, I'm gonna keep doing this until he tells me, no, not no, we got something else for you to do. So it's been quite the journey, and it's been a beautiful, beautiful journey. So thank you so much for asking that question and for giving me the opportunity and the platform to share on.
You're very welcome. We should be thanking you for taking time out of your busy schedule to, like join us on this podcast, on this platform. And I know for sure there's somebody out there who needs your services, who needs your service, who needs, your advice, your words of wisdom, and your words of encouragement. And that's what this platform is all about, boosting the morale of those who need their morals boosted. So thank you so much. It's been a wonderful conversation. I truly, enjoyed our conversation. I have learned a lot from you as well. And your books are on Amazon, right?
Yes, they are. They're on Amazon, and they can contact me too, as well through Paper V Publishing, but they are all on Amazon.
Great, great. So if you are interested in writing your book, it doesn't matter if it's your biography, it doesn't matter if you want to write a love story or, if you just want to get a book published, please feel free to reach out to her. Send her a DM on, Facebook, Instagram, but just reach out to her and she'll be willing to get you started. So thank you so much, ma'am. It's been a pleasure having this conversation with you. And I hope when next I invite you, you will be willing to join us on the program. Can you hear me? Are you there? All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for listening. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Morale Booster. I don't know where you're listening to me from right now. I don't know what you know about yourself. Neither do I know what the people around you know about you. But hey, here is one thing that I, John, know about you who's listening to me right now. I know for sure that you are an abode of greatness. And remember, today is the first day of the rest of your life. Stay blessed and bye for now.